Okay, so there's something very curious happening within the price action of COSM, and it's actually something regarding called, let's see, negative volume. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go over that metric because there could be a shift or a balance regarding momentum. So let's go ahead and go over those metrics now, team. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a COSM technicals and raw price action thread of analysis with a sprinkle of statistics, right? Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, team, so we're looking at COSM on the bi-daily chart here, and you've already been exposed to this chart a few times. I released this a few times, right? I'm not sure that I see anyone else charting COSM within a broadening descending wedge, but nonetheless, the characteristics are there. It's showing that the play is playing the way it should. Unfortunately, it's even a part of it too. But let's go ahead and touch down with a few things that are the more obvious things, right? Before we get in touch with into the negative volume. Okay, so the very obvious thing here is that we're starting to break support. Okay, so that's never a good thing. But what I can see as well is that every single every single bar here bi-daily, right? Every single candle takes approximately 2 days to complete. So every single bar is starting to get smaller and smaller as we decline. Right, so that usually indicates a potential of loss of bear strength or weakness, right? Exhaustion from the bears. You can see that in the volume as well. Okay, so that's, a lot of the times not everybody pays attention to metrics like this, but this is why you have me, and this is why I do the gritty work, right? Anyway, so yeah, that's one thing, right? That's one thing that's indicating that there could be some type of exhaustion coming in soon. I am not by any means saying that this is the floor, or that it's going to just reverse and V-shape recover all the way to the upside. No, what I am saying here is that there is a potential exhaustion of bears, and that's all. Okay, team. So, and it just so happens to be within the support line of the broadening descending wedge, which is typical, right? It usually would be the support for the asset before a continuation, particularly to a shift of momentum towards the upside. However, we don't have that signal there just yet. Let's keep on evaluating though, because I want to let you know ahead of time what I'm looking at before you can make any rash decisions, right? So this would be your education before you can execute, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the next chart here. So what we're looking at here is the NVI. This is actually the negative volume index, and what we're looking at here is actually, if you look in the settings right here, we have an exponential moving average, right? So this is the exponential moving average that has a look back period of 255 days. 255 days. Why? Because it's just a couple days over the entire trading available days in the stock market, 252. Okay, team. So what we're looking at here is the negative volume starting to show an uptrend, right? So overall, you can see that this is moving upwards, and we're now starting to move upside of the moving average. So whenever the negative volume starts to move below the moving average, that indicates that sell pressure is active, and it's more than likely that it's going to continue to the downside. Okay, so in this case here, you can see that this is the 6-hour chart, by the way. Okay, so you can see that the moving average is already meeting the negative volume, and the negative volume is showing an inverse activity, is actually starting to move to the upside. Another thing to notice here is that there is a clear divergence between price action and volume. Okay, so you can see here that the negative volume is actually starting to move to the upside. Regular volume is declining, meaning that there is an exhaustion of bears. So when the negative volume crosses upside of the moving average, that means that negative volume is subsiding, which is actually very reminiscent to this decline in regular volume, right? So it's showing us that there could be an exhaustion of bears, right? Was there news here or something? No. Okay, that's 5 days ago. No problem. Okay, so another thing for us to look at are the ladders, right, within this downside here. Okay, so we can see here that we have one ladder, 2, 3, 4. This could be maybe 1 here, but we're going to count this one as 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so we have about 8 ladder downs right now, and usually anything after 3, your probabilities for a shift in momentum, like I'm saying, probable consolidation or floor, start to increase after 3. So the probabilities of 4 versus 5 are greater at 5, 5 and 6 are greater at 6, 6 and 7, and so on. Okay, so we're at 8. All right, so there could be an indication here that there is a shift or something that's going to happen relatively soon. I don't know when, but what I can do is evaluate the tools that we have available to us and the price action, right, which is our forward-looking indicator, the price itself. Okay, team, the next thing that we want to see here is that this may very well not happen at all, right? So, but if we do get a shift in momentum starting sometime next week, then we are still within the criteria of a particular setup on the daily. Okay, so only when the criteria fires is when we can take advantage of this setup. Okay, so if the criteria doesn't, if the setup doesn't or the signal doesn't fire itself, then the criteria is just going to go off with a false signal, right? Hence the 37 out of 33 iterations that have guessed the upside correctly, right? Which gives us an 89% upside accuracy. Okay, so the condition here is that any time that volatility has contracted into the extreme zones of contraction, which is within the 15th percentile, paired with stochastic momentum with an upside pivot, throughout the entire trading history, I've measured the upside thrust, the duration of the iteration, and the amount of times that the criteria have guessed the upside correctly versus incorrectly. So these samples here have given us these metrics here. This is the data set. Okay, so that with an upside accuracy of 89.18%, the upside thrust would be 28.06% over the span of about 14 days, just over 14 days. Okay, so like I said, if the criteria doesn't actually fire, if the signal doesn't actually fire, then we can't use the criteria for this 28% bump, right? But if we were, we can just hypothetically speak here, right? So if the signal does fire, which means that the momentum shifts to the upside, that would be officially, the criteria signaling the upside, right? So yeah, we can speculate here. From the 148 low, 28% to the upside would put us, let's see, that would put us roughly at about $1.90. Okay, so $1.90 would be, I guess it would be a break of market structure, and it also has a lot to do with the SMA 10 located right at about 202. Right, so $1.90 to 202 is not far away from each other. So of course we have to take that down into consideration here as a resistance line. Right, the next thing we can do is draw a fib. Right, some geometrics. Let's see if this the last day printed here has anything to do within this target here. Right, so swing high to the swing low Fibonacci ratio, and we can see that 192 is landing right at the 2.618 golden mean. The price action, the psychology within the trade, within the markets, they like to take price action to the 618 targets. And it just so happens to be that it's very well within the realm of the statistical backtest top side, 28.06% to the upside. If, in fact, you can see that's 28.60 and it's 06, right? So a little dyslexic there, but I can try to adjust it as best as I could, although it's not going to make a huge difference in price, but you never know, right? So 28.06, just so we can see that it's not absolutely that close, right? I'm going to try to be as true as I can to you. So in fact, it's 189. Okay, so that makes actually an adjusted range, right? So 189, just like this, and then we can adjust this as well because we're slightly below it, right? So 201. All right, so then and now with the 192 being right within the results, which is something that I speak of regularly. So usually I say that I have a discretionary resistance line or support line, and for some reason or another, the geometrics come in to land right between or right within the target that we're looking at, right? So let me just go ahead and make this a dotted line here so it's not so distracting, right? Okay, so that's only if the criteria. If the signal fires for the criteria, right? So if it doesn't fire, team, we may very well be experiencing a continuation to the downside. Although I do have to say that the bottom side that we're looking at currently is already within a. Let me see. Yeah. So the 169 bottom that we thought we could face, right, has actually been right here, right? It has actually been surpassed. The 169 bottom was in fact a very critical area of support, and it bounced. And it bounced from 169 to about 190. Okay, so 190 being what? The resistance level that we're looking at in the prior chart. Okay, that's where the wave number, let's see, 876, wave number 6 bounced to, right? So very curious there too. What I was going to tell you is that the one spot 618 at 162 had a lot of confluence within the 169 bottom, the all-time low, right? So, or the 52-week low, sorry. And I mean, we're sitting at about 151 right now, 148 bottom, so it's relatively still within the support range of it. Right, so let's go ahead and move on to the last chart, which is going to be the RSI, and we're going to go ahead and just finish it off right here, team, okay? So let's do this, right? 30-minute immediate short term, or 15-minute actually. Let's move on to the 30-minute. It is showing that we have an upside here, however, it is a bit limited. Now, mind you, the 30-minute time frame does move pretty fast, which means that the SMA 14 can be highly reactive with any movement that the RSI signal does within a 30-minute closing period. Which means that the 14-day simple could be located or readjusted right within the gravitational zone of the bear strength percentile. This is not factual. I am telling you what potentially can happen, right? So if we do get that upside here on the RSI signal, which by the way it's already suggesting, we could move that SMA 14 right within the gravitational zone, which would then help price action to succeed the upside of the SMA 14 using the gravitational zone. Okay, so another thing that we can see here is within the bi-hourly time frame, there is clearly some resistance to be looked at here. This is what's making me feel that we may not succeed at the SMA 14 within the 30-minute. Why? Because this is in the gravitational zone of the bear strength percentile. Highly likely for this to find an upside, get that resistance from both the gravitational zone and the SMA 14 represented by the pink line, and reject. Okay, so similar situation right down here, right? So on the 4-hour time frame, we do have the resistance of the SMA 14, and it's the new cross below it. Okay, so now as we start to jump in the higher term time frames, you can see that both the RSI signal and the moving average are not so aggressively pitched to the downside. In fact, we can start to see that there is some type of balance. However, there is still a downside, right? It's still pivoted towards the downside, but the balance is starting to show, which is also reminiscent over the NVI, the negative volume index, showing that there could be a potential cross upside of the moving average, right? We were talking about this chart here, this right over here, right? So now as we continue on, take a look at this. The 12-hour time frame is already kind of balanced. It's already literally pivoted just straight to the right, which indicates consolidation. Similar situation here with the daily time frame. In fact, it's pivoted with some downside with the RSI, SMA 14, sorry, and the RSI signal itself is still showing some downside, but nothing like this here. Okay, so and it's strong enough. This balance here on the 12-hour and the daily is strong enough to start affecting the 3-day. Notice how the 3-day is starting to shift here too. Same thing with the 5-day, starting to shift. Okay, so we have to keep an eye over what's happening here on COSM a little closer as the days go by, because there could be some type of shift here soon. I'm not saying at all that this is going to be the recovery. In fact, this instills a lot of fear into retail. You know, what I'm talking about is this type of negative price action, right? So all I'm saying is that we have to keep a close eye on it, right? Because there could be signs of a potential recovery soon, or you know, just whenever sentiment does feel appropriate to get this thing to recover. Okay, team. So what I must say is that please take whatever I do show within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as it cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Okay, team. I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be cool. But with that said, I wish you well. A very, 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 very good rest of your weekend. And I will catch you at the bell on Monday. Adios.